Jack Barrett had returned to duty, but not as the same man who vanished into the forest. Neither had Sergeant B. Their memories had been chemically scrubbed, fragmented under orders, and buried behind layers of psychological blocks. On paper, they were restored, fit, normal. But the phenomenon hadn't left them. It lingered, beneath their skin, inside their dreams, behind every quiet moment. The official line was simple: a fabricated report, a staged training exercise, a Cold War distraction. Colonel Ross Denning's memo would seal the narrative. His audio tape, once a clear chronicle, was scrubbed, cut into fragments, left confusing by design. Only a handful of lines survived, and even those misled. But the price of silence came with a new cost, because now Jack and Sergeant B were changing, and the government was watching. The program had already been folded into a special access protocol. Congress would never see the files. The president would never be briefed. Only a few knew: Dr. Elias Voss, Christopher Pike, and CIA liaison Christopher Hunter Green. And those few were no longer studying the phenomenon. They were learning how to weaponize it.
There's a silence under skin, a whisper where the truth had been, buried deep behind the veil, in fractured minds too lost to fail. A flash of light, a broken tree, two shadows where one man should be. They walk back into normal life with phantom wounds and hidden strife. And tell me what I saw was wrong. Say the static wasn't strong. Erase the echo, block the sound, but memory still turns around. We served, we bled, and we forgot, but silence stains what time could not. Orders came with blank-eyed grace. They wiped the hours, blurred the place. Names became a whispered code. In blacked-out files, the past corrode. Sad to be, he screamed at night. Said Jack still glowed beneath the light. But meds and lies and flights resumed, as if no forest ever bloomed. Down in a vault, the tape was trimmed. The real was clipped, the false was hemmed. A memo vague, a light described, while men who saw it never lied. The satellite, they said, was burned, returned in orbit, truth adjourned. The field remains, the pulse survives, and something waits where memory hides. Tell me what I saw was wrong. Say the static wasn't strong. Erase the echo, block the sound, but memory still turns around. We served, we bled, and we forgot, but silence stains what time could not. We walked away, our duty done, but still we chase what we outrun. For Jack, for truth, for what remains. We are the men who hold the names.
After Jack Barrett and Sergeant B were retrieved from the time dilation bubble during the incident on the 28th, they were medically stabilized and returned to duty by the morning of the 29th. But neither man remembered what had happened, not completely. Under the authority of CIA analyst Christopher Hunter Green, memory suppression procedures were deployed. Neurochemical fogging was combined with targeted hypnosis and electromagnetic dampening, deliberately fragmenting access to short-term and long-term recall. The goal: eliminate coherent recollection of the forest event while preserving baseline cognitive function. It worked, but not for long. The phenomenon had other ideas. Jack would feel it first. a tightening in his spine, glimpses of sequences that hadn't happened yet. Sergeant B described it as dreams that bled through while awake. Together, they carried a fracture, one that even the block mechanisms couldn't fully contain. That was when the problems began. They started missing time again. Reflexes shifted. Peripheral vision began to register movement too fast for the eye. They began responding to things before they happened. The CIA locked both of them into evaluation. But this time, they weren't treated like assets to be discarded. They were considered prototypes. Whatever intelligence resided within the field, it was not inert. It reacted to suppression. As Jack returned to base protocols, desk duty, light security walks, he began experiencing intermittent blackouts, then flashes. Not of what happened, but of something trying to remind him. The same was true for Sergeant B. He began waking in the night, drenched in sweat, unable to account for hours. They weren't alone. Lieutenant Colonel Ross Denning, the team lead on the recovery mission, was summoned to draft an internal memo summarizing the event. He was given a basic outline: anomalous lights observed, brief investigation, nothing significant. He complied, but not entirely of his own will. Programming had been built into his neural routines via a Cold War-era linguistic protocol. Trigger phrases embedded during early service training had turned Denning into a narrative filter, able to report, but only within strict bounds. The tape he recorded during the second encounter, the only live documentation, was later recovered by Pike and Hunter Green. Most of it was scrubbed. Less than 18 minutes remained, cut and distorted. The result? Confusion, a tactical move. Anyone listening would find it incomplete, ambiguous, and that was the point. Jack Barrett and Sergeant B had returned to duty with memories veiled, but something had changed. Physiological anomalies emerged first. Jack's reflexes began responding before stimuli occurred. Sergeant B reported hearing unspoken thoughts, glimpses of intention from those near him. What began as headaches and vivid dreams soon clarified into patterns. Predictive senses, lucid perception, accelerated cognition. They didn't talk about it at first, but the phenomenon wasn't done with them. Dr. Elias Voss had seen the markers. He had them quietly brought in on their days off. No uniforms, no paperwork. Just the two of them inside a converted SCIF beneath Martlesham Heath. There, Voss initiated a training regimen informed by Project Stargate. The protocols were unofficial, but exacting. He taught them Vipassana meditation to stabilize their internal signal and reduce cognitive dissonance. Kripalu yoga sessions followed, allowing them to stretch, center, and bring their awareness into congruence with their altered neural rhythms. But it was Voss's custom-designed Stargate method, an evolved integration of psycho-navigation and harmonic resonance that showed them how to reach into the signal field without breaking. They began by remote viewing coordinates already known to Voss. Then they were given unfamiliar targets. Both succeeded. Jack described what he saw as compressed timelines threaded into light. Sergeant B said he could feel the emotional residue of events before they happened. Voss documented everything. In time, they would become something more. Assets, yes, but also keys. Not just to the anomaly, to the human mind's convergence with it. By early March, both Jack and Sergeant B began experiencing physiological complications. Jack's EEG showed spikes in theta and gamma activity, correlating with altered perception states. Sergeant B reported migraines, tremors, and what he described as phantom echoes, hearing voices from conversations that hadn't occurred. The science team, led by Dr. Elias Voss and assisted by Pike, placed them under ongoing surveillance at the Edgewood Convergence Unit, a remote facility built for exotic field effects. There, it became clear that exposure to the time dilation bubble had not merely displaced them, it had rewritten small portions of their biology. Cellular decay in Jack's mitochondria was accelerating, but oddly so, influenced by oscillatory frequencies detected in the deep forest near Capel Green. Sergeant B's blood work revealed elevated isotopes not commonly found in terrestrial environments. Operation Echo Protocol had fractured the boundary between event and observer. The entire project, now updated to Echo Protocol Phase 2, was buried under a Special Access Program, SAP, with zero congressional oversight. Only a closed cell within the CIA and a fragmentary liaison group in the Ministry of Defense were granted access. Congress knew nothing. The President knew fragments. The director of the CIA knew everything. Even Dr. Voss had begun to fear what they'd unearthed. Back at the site, a subterranean control grid was being reactivated. Using recovered telemetry from Night 2, the science team began shaping energy signatures into weapon profiles. Tests included directed temporal stasis fields, 3-second local freezes, short-range cognition disruptors based on harmonic bleed, plasma-based signal projection mimicking UAP motion blur. The science team expanded their research into the site. Capel Green was cordoned off under the guise of ordnance clearing. Beneath the soil, Voss's instruments recorded lingering quantum decoherence, signatures that couldn't be explained by anything conventional. A secret weapons initiative was born. They called it Silent Vector, and Jack and Sergeant B were its reluctant foundations. In effect, they were taking what had happened to Jack and turned it into defense architecture. But the forest was still active. One field technician collapsed at the crater's edge. Another claimed they saw their reflection blink in the wrong direction. Pike logged it all. Hunter Green classified it. Voss stared too long into the anomaly's pulse and said only one thing: "It's not finished with us." The present-day hearing was silent for a moment. A senator, older than the rest, finally leaned forward. "So the cover-up started right away," he said slowly. He glanced around the room. "And it lasted for decades. What was the reason it was kept so tight-lipped? Did it not hurt the advancement of our own technology? And how, exactly, did something this significant remain secret for so long? And who funded it?" No one answered immediately, because everyone already knew. The truth was too powerful to control, and the cost of revealing it had always been humanity itself. Jack Barrett and Sergeant B were no longer merely soldiers. They had become anomalies within their own biology, anomalies born of a phenomenon neither they nor their handlers fully understood. Under Dr. Voss's watch, the sessions of silent meditation and focused breath work weren't for healing. They were for alignment, an effort to tune Jack and Sergeant B into a signal that hadn't stopped transmitting. The deeper they trained, the clearer it became. They were not recovering. They were adapting. Yet even now, the truth was buried. The memo, the tape, the timeline, all doctored, all delivered in fragments designed to confuse. And in the shadows of classified vaults, questions still swirled like plasma. "So the cover-up started right away," one senator finally said, "and lasted for decades. What was the reason? Why keep it so tightly sealed? Didn't that slow our own advancement? And how the hell was it all funded?" Across the room, the silence lingered longer than it should have, because the real answer was too dangerous to put on record. Look ahead. Chapter 10. The Mirrored Saint. The message isn't done. As the anomaly prepares for its return, the signal buried in Jack begins to fracture. An intercepted transmission hints at something far worse, a shadow consciousness embedded within the echo structure itself, one that mimics, adapts, and evolves. It has a name now. Not given by man, but whispered from the edge of space-time. The Mirrored Saint. And as global surveillance intensifies and ancient doctrines are quietly rewritten, Jack will uncover a secret hidden not just from governments, but from time itself. Prepare to step back into the breach. Because the next convergence is already underway.
silence of time, I walked alone, but the stars knew my name in undertone. From Rendlesham woods to Saturn skies, I carry the echo, I lived the why. It wasn't the end, it was unfolding. Not contact made, but truth beholding. Beyond the war, beyond the flame, we weren't just shadows, we became.